Hi, I'm Caden, here with my brother,
Cal,
and you're watching Eating W's.
eat the W.
That's a W. Let's eat one. Let's eat one. That's a W.
On this episode of Eating W's, we have our NFL Week 10 predictions. But before we jump into those, just a quick update on our head-to-head pick'ems game. Cal and I both had pretty solid weeks considering there wasn't very many games. Callan picked up 9 points, but I just edged him out by picking up 11 points, putting us at a total of me with 87 and Callan with 81. So he was making it up on me. He got within 4, but now it is a little bit bigger of a gap at 6 points. So wipe the sweat bead off my head. I can breathe a little more now.
Yeah, I needed to hit that upset, and I just didn't.
It happens. You can't get them all right. So now jumping into our predictions. Starting off with the Thursday night game, we have the Atlanta Falcons heading to Carolina to take on the Panthers. And our first split of the episode, I have the Falcons in this one, and Callan has the Panthers.
Yeah, I think the Panthers pick up where they left off against Atlanta just a couple weeks ago, and they finished the job this week with P.J. Walker still starting at quarterback, even though they did play Baker last week. P.J. Walker is still named the starter. And I think that the way that they've been playing, that they'll get some revenge on the Falcons here at home in Carolina.
Yeah, the Panthers were one of the unlucky teams that hit the Bengals. I had to remember who they were playing quick. They were one of the unlucky teams to hit the Cincinnati Bengals on one of their hot weeks. The Bengals are very on and off, and man, were they on against the Panthers. So I could see the Panthers making this a game, but I think that whole Hail Mary overtime, it was just a total fluke. Only 2 weeks ago, these teams are facing for the second time in 3 weeks, which is weird on the scheduling part, especially considering it's a divisional matchup. But
almost unheard of.
Hey, it happens. But I think that the Falcons are going to learn from the mistakes that they had 2 weeks ago and pretty comfortably take care of the Panthers at home, in my opinion. So next up, we have the first ever NFL Germany game at 9:30 Eastern on Sunday morning. And then we have the Seahawks going to Tampa Bay to take on the Bucks, and we agree on this one. Cal and I both have the Seahawks. The Bucks led that kind of miraculous, is what I've seen some of the headlines say, but it was a pretty normal game-winning drive by Brady. He still has it. At the end of the day, he's getting old. He's definitely getting worse, but he's still an NFL quarterback and
that was
legend.
Still Brady being Brady.
Exactly. You don't lose that pure winner part ever, really, even if you lose some of those physical abilities. But I don't think he'll even get a chance to do that against this Seahawks team. They're just way too solid in all 3 phases of the game. So I think this is going to be far and away by the fourth quarter.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising that who would have thought at the beginning of the season that we'd be talking about a Seahawks blowout against the Buccaneers. But here we are. The way the season has unfolded, the Seahawks are quite the team to mess with. And they are leading the league in forced fumbles with 16. And I think they'll get a few more against Brady and the Bucks. And then the Bucks just won't be able to keep up with them. And turnovers are going to be a huge differential here.
Fly, Seahawks, fly. It is crazy. Next up, we have the Minnesota Vikings heading to Buffalo to take on the Bills in our game of the week. And Cal and I agree on this one. We both have the Vikings, and I have the Vikings as my upset. Now, I, of course, was going to take the Vikings either way, but going against Josh Allen, I thought they'd be an upset. But wait a minute, it actually looks like they might be going against the backup quarterback. But if you look at the Vikings past, we very much struggle against backup quarterbacks. Not to mention, the Buffalo Bills backup quarterback is none other than Case Keenum, who led us on that truly miraculous 2017 playoff run. So to be honest, either way, I am terrified. If Josh Allen starts, I am afraid of what that man will do. And if Case Keenum starts, I'm afraid that we will absolutely fall apart and lose to Case Keenum. It's just a circle of fear that I don't know how to get out of. But nevertheless, I'm sticking with my team. I'm going with the Vikings as the upset.
Yeah, I got the Vikings winning here because I feel like from what I've heard, Josh Allen, if he plays, will not be 100%. And I think that's going to make quite a difference. He got hurt late in that Jets game and threw a bad interception after he got hurt. And I think that because the Bills will be playing with possibly a backup quarterback, this could be an easy win for the Vikings.
What was Allen's injury again?
A UCL injury, which is the elbow. Usually it's a pitcher's injury in baseball. It usually knocks him out for the season, but in football it's different. It's just a week-to-week kind of thing.
And it's on his throwing arm, which makes it much scarier. So next up, we have a AFC matchup with the Jacksonville Jaguars heading to Kansas City to take on the Chiefs and another split. I have the Jags in this one. Callan has the Chiefs as his lock.
Yeah, the Jags had to come back last week against a downtrodden Oakland team, a downtrodden Vegas team, and they were able to complete the comeback, but I don't think they'll be able to complete any comeback against the high-powered Chiefs. The way that they played tough against Tennessee, that was just a fist fight, I feel like, in football terms, of the way the Chiefs handled the Titans last week, and I think that'll really help them this season as they continue through the year.
A couple of times these past few years, the Chiefs have kind of showed a little bit of cracks in their armor against some lesser teams. I don't know if they're kind of overlooking them or if lesser teams are going against the big bad Chiefs and kind of playing up to the occasion. But they've been showing those cracks in their armors, and the Jaguars have been able to take advantage of miscues by other teams this season very efficiently. And they've been inconsistent, but there's been a few games where the Jags have came out and looked like a really good football team. So I think it's really banking on a lot of luck on my part here. But I think the Jags are going to come out and have a good week, and I think the Chiefs might overlook them a little bit, and the Jags are just barely going to sneak out a win in Kansas City.
If this was in Jacksonville, I would pick the Jaguars as the upset. But because the Jags have to come up to Kansas City, that's a tough place to play, and I don't think they'll be able to get the win.
Especially as it's getting colder and later in the year. Next up, we got kind of a fun one here with the Indianapolis Colts heading to Las Vegas to take on the aforementioned Raiders. Callan has the Raiders in this one, and I have the Colts. Call me crazy, but I have the Colts for one reason and one reason only, and that's because I am a firm believer in interim head coaches, and I played center in high school, so I am a firm believer in centers especially. So I think Jeff Saturday is going to come out as his first game as interim coach and really band this team together and get all of their issues out of the way. Because on paper, this is an extremely good team, should be playoff contenders, but they've just come out and looked flat week after week. You look at that offense, and you got guys like newbie Matt Ryan, Jonathan Taylor, Michael Pittman, not to mention some of the guys on defense, like that crazy pass rush from guys like Shaquille Leonard and Yannick Ngakoue. So the Colts should just be such a better team than they actually are, and I think that Jeff Saturday will be able to get a fire lit under their ass, and they're going to upset the Raiders in their first game without Frank Wright.
Well, I don't know if it could be an upset when you're playing the Raiders this year. But
that's a hell of a point.
But yeah, I know that's what they're hoping that Jeff Saturday does, because there was just no fight in that team, and I believe that the Raiders are going to take advantage of that. And you got a coach coming in with no experience. He's not going to call any of the plays. I'm not sure what he's really there for. He seems kind of like a figurehead, but I believe that the Raiders will be able to take control of that and take control of the game and get an easy W here with the way that they played against the Patriots.
Man, he's just there to be a hype beast. That's all they need there in Indianapolis. Next up, we have an NFC matchup with the Dallas Cowboys heading to Green Bay to take on the Packers, and yet another split between Callan and I. I have the Cowboys in this one, and Callan has the Packers as his upset.
This is the game where it all turns around. This is it. This will be the victory that turns around the season and leads us to the playoffs. This will be a huge upset over a very powerful Cowboys team. It's Mike McCarthy's return to Lambeau. It's Rodgers versus McCarthy, and I believe that's going to fire this team up, and it's going to be a monumental win, and it's going to bring this team together finally and be the catalyst for what will become an amazing playoff run. And if we lose, that'll be it.
Oh, okay. Just a fun little tidbit I just noticed, actually. I have my favorite team as the upset, and Callan has his favorite team as the upset. I don't think that's ever happened. But actually, talking about the game, snowball's chance in hell. The Cowboys are coming off of a bye week. They just have way too much power. The Packers were already struggling and now lost one of the bright spots on their team with Rashad Gary going down with that ACL injury. I could see the Packers maybe making it somewhat of a close game, maybe kind of pushing them a little bit late in the fourth quarter, something like that. I just don't see a world where the Packers beat the Cowboys in this situation, even at home.
Unfortunately, I mean, we don't have anyone to throw to. I think the only receiver that's left standing is Sammy Watkins, which that's not going to last very long.
That's impressive. I saw 2 different times that Sammy Watkins ran a wrong route and got yelled at by Rodgers in that Detroit game. So
yeah,
is he there? He might be there physically, but who knows if he's there mentally.
He is just not caught on to the offense. He's not in sync with Rodgers, and it's too bad because if he could get in sync with Rodgers, he could have a really big year and a really big game. But until that happens, it remains to be seen.
He looks at LaFleur and says, "You want me to run something other than a streak? I've never heard of that route.
I don't know how else to do that."
Sorry, Aaron. Sorry, Matt. I've never heard of that route. So, and then we're just going to kind of fly through these last 3 games quick, starting with the Cardinals heading to Los Angeles to take on the Rams in a battle for the basement. Got to give credit to Callan on that one. He coined that before we started. I liked it. But whoever loses this game will be at the bottom of that AFC West. I have the Cardinals in this one. Callan has the Rams. Next up, we got the Chargers and 49ers on Sunday Night Football in another split. I got the Chargers. Callan has the 49ers. And then finally, for Monday Night Football, we have the Washington Commanders heading to Philadelphia to take on the Eagles. And pretty obviously, Callan and I both have the Eagles in this one. As for teams on bye, 4 of them this week. We got the Bengals, Patriots, Jets, and Ravens. Whew, flew through a lot of stuff there. Hope you got that all. It'll, of course, be on screen. But yeah, should be an exciting week overall of NFL football. I really like almost every single matchup right here. So I will be glued to the TV this Sunday, to say the least.
Almost every game has a storyline to go with it. So
certainly. So that was our NFL Week 10 predictions. Leave a like on the video if you enjoyed it. But until next time, don't forget
to eat the W.